So, like, when I asked Samantha about it, she was like, this is like when you want to be out and doing something and you need your hand. And this is like when you're inside, cozy, reading a book, drinking a cup of tea. Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is DoSo Knits, and today is episode 26 of the DoSo Knits Knitting Podcast. So if you're new here, my name is Kristen and I am a knitter and military spouse currently living in Germany, although not for much longer. If you're a returning viewer, you may notice we have a slightly different setup today, and that is because all of our furniture and large household goods have been packed up and are on a boat to the United States. So we currently have some plastic temporary furniture while we wait to move into the hotel, and until then we don't really have a lot of stuff, and so if the room's a little echoey today, that's because there's really not a lot in here to catch the extra sound. So I'm doing my best. Hopefully it is okay. I have moved a little plant over here to give a little bit more background ambiance instead of just a plain white wall, but we're working with what we have, which is not a whole lot right now. But I want to thank you guys so much for coming back. You guys have been very supportive. I was supposed to post a podcast a couple weeks ago, and then with all the moving craziness, it just didn't happen. And you guys were really sweet and just podcast when you can. We'll be here for you. So thank you guys so much if you sent those messages. Seriously, it helps ease a little bit of the stress because this is all for fun and I just like to show you guys what I make. So the fact that you'll kind of wait around for when I post another episode really makes my heart swell a bit. So thank you so much. I'm happy to be here and sharing with you guys today because I have a lot of really fun goodies. So a little admin at the beginning. If you'd like to follow me other places, I am DoSo Knits on basically everything: Instagram, Ravelry, and YouTube. And then all the show notes to link to yarns, the patterns, and my Ravelry project pages is linked in the description below. It's on my website, dosoknits.com. And there you can find all the show notes to all my past episodes. And then if there's a specific pattern that you want to look back and see, which podcast did I talk about my Wild Joy sweater in? There are some tags. You can search for Wild Joy, and then I'll pop all of the show notes up with every episode that I talked about that sweater. So I try to make it really accessible if it's something that you need to go back to and refer to later if you wanted to rewatch the parts that I talked about those patterns. So that's all linked down below. And then I also wanted to share this new mug that I am drinking out of today. This is a mug from Knit Swag. And when I saw this pattern and the moose, I commented on the post and was like, I have to have that mug. I love moose. Moose are my favorite animal. One of my life goals is to see a moose in person, which, maybe since we're moving to Colorado, maybe it'll happen. So I commented on the post saying I have to have one of those mugs. And Kelly, who is the designer of Knit Swag, messaged me and asked if I would want a coupon code to share with all of you guys. And I said yes. So if Knit Swag is something you are interested in, make sure you go check out her shop. Even if you don't know if you'll order anything, she has so many cute designs. She has mugs, notebooks, journals, knitting graph paper. She designed this whole font to represent knit stitches better than what the current fonts for knitting stitches were out there, which I think, in my designer brain, I think that is so cool and smart and geeky, and I love it. So she was able to customize this mug for me. She customized it with my name, and then I asked for olive because olive is the color of my fall. I have decided I want everything olive this year, and so I'm so thrilled with this mug, and I love it. I'm drinking a pumpkin black tea from Bird and Blend. It's called Spiced Pumpkin Pie. Those are my absolute favorite teas as this time of year comes around. Honestly, I drink this tea all the time because I bought a lot of it. And yeah, so it'll be linked in the description box down below for the coupon code over on her site. It is DoSoKnits15, and it gets you 15% off your entire purchase. And so I just say, just hop over there, see if there's anything you like. I'm obsessed with the stuff that she has, and I just wanted to share it with you guys. Alrighty, so the other admin thing that we have is I was hosting a finish along, knit along that went through September 15th. That finish along has now ended. So I will be pulling prize winners here within the next week. I'm hoping to post a separate video with those winners, and I will be contacting all of you guys very shortly. I want to do a video that way I can show off some of the bags and the yarns that came in, and then that way I can get those prizes out to you guys very soon. So be on the lookout for that video. Thank you guys so much for participating and finishing. We had over 100 finished objects in the Ravelry group, which is mind-blowing to me because my last knit along did not have anything near 3 digits. So I really appreciate all you guys. You guys don't realize how motivating it was to see you guys finishing all those items. The Discord chatter where people were talking and showing what they were working on. People could frog things, and it was just a lot of fun. I actually cleared off, I think I got everything off the needles minus one sweater, which I'm still debating if I want to frog or keep. Because when I showed it on an IG live where I was frogging objects, everyone told me I shouldn't frog it. So I don't know what I'm doing with that one yet. It's just not calling to me right now, so it might just sit in limbo for a little bit longer. But everything else is off the needles, and it was really fun to do that with all of you guys. But now I've cast on a lot more things, so yeah. The point was to clear off some of these things to make my move a bit easier, and it did. I was able to keep the things that I wanted to keep and start on those projects for the moving process. With all that being said, I do have some finished objects to share with you guys. So with that, maybe grab a cup of tea, maybe a cup of coffee, whatever your beverage of choice is, and we will dive right into all of the finished objects that I have. Okay, so the first finished objects I have to show you guys are my Sprinkler Days socks by Hygge Canyon. And so here they are. I have finished both of these. So I knit these as part of summer sock camp. I did finish them in time to be entered into the wildcard cabin because I did use 2 16-inch circulars to knit these socks. So with them, the contrast color was Stress Knits Ice King on her favorite base, and then the main color was a Homespun House Half-Blood Prince. I love how these colors play together. I think they are super cute, and they're nice little like ankle length shorty like socks, so they'll be perfect in like Chelsea boots as the fall comes in. So I did change the pattern just a little bit. You're supposed to do a main color and then a contrast stripe on the cuff. I just did all the cuff in the contrast color, and then I think that was the only modification. Oh, the other modification I made is you're supposed to do a couple rounds of the pattern repeat on the back of the foot above the heel. I did not do that. So I just did stockinette on the back of the sock to keep the patterning nice and simple for that. And yeah, I really love how all the little like orange blips in here kind of correspond to the orange blips in the contrast color. I thought these colors just went perfectly together, and they were enjoying it. I've actually knit this pattern once before, so knitting it again was just as fun. I love it, and the lace patterning down the front is just really fun. Yeah, so those are those. The next finished object I have is another pair of socks. So these are the Spruces Socks, also by Hygge Canyon, and also knit with a Homespun House yarn. So these are what they look like. So I had started these in January, I believe, and finished them in August. I tested it the first sock for Hygge Canyon and then just never really picked up the second one. I don't know why, because they're absolutely gorgeous. I should have knit them faster. But they are followed completely to pattern for Hygge Canyon. So it is a 1x1 rib up here. And then look at this gorgeous pearl bump detail. I'm obsessed with that. And then you get this really cute pearl pine tree like pattern. There's a gorgeous rib going down the back of the socks, and then a really fun version of a heel flap. because it's not just a standard slip stitch heel flap. It's a really fun, she kind of incorporates some of the ribbing technique here into the heel flap, and I think it's really, really cute. I do think it does shrink the heel flap just a bit, but I did the normal amount of a heel flap that I normally do, and I think it's going to be okay. But if that's something, maybe if it tightens up for you a bit, just you can knit a couple extra rounds and then do a few more decreases. And yeah, so both the contrast color and main color are Homespun House. The main color is her Gold Stellina base, and it is the colorway Sugar Cane. I don't know if you'll be able to see any of the Stellina in there. Yeah, you can kind of see it. But this was the Advent 2020 main skein that you opened up at the very end of your Advent calendar, and I love it so much. I'm slowly becoming more of a pink person, and I really like these. So yeah, these are really fun to knit. I don't know why they took me so long to finish. I think part of me, once I wasn't going to finish in the month, I was kind of waiting because Sock Knitters Anonymous does like a finish the socks in August as well. So I kind of held off for that, and I did post those in the Sock Knitters Anonymous group. And yeah, I really love these. I'm glad they're done. The leg is a little longer than what I normally knit, but I think that's going to be fabulous for the fall and winter time anyway. I stopped knitting long legs because I get lazy, not because I don't like them. And yeah, what's really fun also is you get this little accent right before the toe. On one sock you do the toe in the contrast, and the other one you just do a stripe, which is really fun. So yeah, I like these a lot. I'm really happy with them. I did knit these on US Zeros on Magic Loop. So my gauge did tighten up a bit, so I think the next time I do Magic Loop, I need to do 2.25 millimeters instead of a 2 millimeter. But that also might be part of the reason why these took me a little bit longer, is because Magic Loop is not my go-to method for sock knitting. 9-inch circulars are my favorite way to knit socks. But anyway, these are done. I'm very excited. I have chosen the time of Saturday that they have decided to weed eat and mow the park across the street. So I'm sorry if that is some ambient noise in the background. I feel like I just don't get lucky sometimes with my recording schedule. Anyway, so the next finished object that I have, I'm so excited to show you. This is my Wild Joy sweater by Samantha Gurin. It has just come out. Make sure you head over, check out the pattern. If you like it, just favorite it on Ravelry if you can. All those little tiny little clicks and likes and comments help the new pattern so much, and I'm obsessed with this. I have not cut off my ends. Do not be mad at me. I've not done that yet. I have woven in all the ends. I have blocked my sweater. I have taken some photos of it. I need to take some photos of me wearing it, but everything is done minus the cutting of the ends. So don't be mad at me. But here's my sweater. It's done. The last time I showed it to you guys, I had just finished this color work chart and was working on the body, which I have finished, and the sleeves. And the sleeves have these extra long cuffs, which is amazing. And I am so excited. Look at this. I'm so excited for this sweater. So as you may know, this sweater, I just like staring at it on the screen. So I love it so much. Okay, I saw this on Samantha's Instagram. I was like, I have to knit that sweater. So that is what I did. I did modify the pattern with approval slightly. Based on the schematic, I was worried about the length of the yoke. I thought I would need a little extra length. So what I did, I knit the size 4 of this pattern, but for the color work, I knit the charts for size 5 to 10, which basically that one just has some elongated charts and then extra plain rows between the color work sections. But if you can see here, that is the top chart, And then down below is the same chart. However, the bottom chart is significantly looser than my top chart. So my yoke ended up being way longer than what I needed it to be. I probably could have done the size 4 colorwork chart like I was supposed to, but I had already knit the long one. And so what I ended up doing is I ripped back this colorwork chart, and then we split for the sleeves between the last 2 charts. So that is why there is a chart on my sleeve and then a chart on the body. And actually, I really like how that turned out a lot. So yeah, my gauge changed a lot for that. But overall, I think that looks okay. So there did end up a colorwork chart on my sleeve, which then meant I just did the decreases after that, after the chart, which ended up being okay because you only decrease a couple and then you do the long cuff at the end so that you can fold up the cuff. I did also try adding some waist shaping, which you can't necessarily see here, but over a couple inches, I just did a couple decreases, knit about an inch, and then increased back out around where my waist is. I don't know if it's adding anything to the sweater overall, but I just wanted to try it. And yeah, overall, for the colorworks, I should tell you what I knit this out of. I knit this with Knit Picks Wool of the Andes, the non-superwash. For all of the colorworks, even for this size, so technically the size 4 charts, which is a 48-inch bust, I believe. That might be incorrect. I think it's a 48. For this size, I used less than 50 grams for all of my 3 colors. So I only used 1 ball for the colorwork. My darkest color here is Midnight Heather. The really light blue here is Fjord Heather, and then this medium blue is Baltic Heather. If I was to go back and reknit this, I would pick a slightly more contrasting color for this chart, just because it kind of blends in with the main color, which is Dove Heather. But overall, I'm living for this sweater. I will show you my floats because I have not done that. So this is what the inside of the sweater looks like. And here's what the back of the sweater looks like with all my ends. And I've been woven in, just not trimmed. Because what I did is I wove them in and then I blocked the sweater and then I will cut them after the blocking is done, which is now. So why am I not wearing the sweater right now? Because I always get very, very hot when I record. So I'm hoping Shane and I are going to try to get some finished object photos of me wearing it today. But I can try to do a quick little try on. So this is how it fits. I had to kind of sit on the arm of the chair so that you can see it. So like I said, the colorwork chart is on the sleeve and the body, which I think ends up working out really well. To figure out what yoke depth you want, you just kind of measure. You put something straight under your armpit and then you can measure around and then add whatever ease you would like. So this is what the folded cuff looks like. And then this is what the cuff looks like when it's unfolded. So like when I asked Samantha about it, she was like, this is like when you want to be out and doing something and you need your hand. And this is like when you're inside, cozy, reading a book, drinking a cup of tea, like nice and cozy. So pre-blocking, it still kind of had like that, I don't know, it's like this, the fabric just like hasn't set into itself. And post-blocking, the stitches are all like, thank you, we're happy. This is our life now. We're happy being here. Because some of, like, especially this little V section, my stitches were kind of very bunched up, but blocking really just smoothed everything out. And I'm obsessed with how this is fitting. I don't know if I would change anything. I'm happy with the modifications I made with the length, and I think if anything, maybe my yoke's a bit long, but nothing too detrimental to how I would like it. I'm already getting very, very warm. But I love this sweater, and if you do, make sure you check it out with Samantha because it is amazing. Okay. Because I was so obsessed with this sweater, I had a lot left over. So I had bought 2 skeins of each of the contrast colors, and I had almost a full skein left of the main color. I used about 500 grams, I think, of the main color, like a little bit more than that. Used about 10 skeins, a little bit over 500 grams. That might be completely wrong. I cannot remember right now. All of that is linked on my project page because I am very religious about putting those numbers in on my project page. Like grams, I go down to the grams for everything. So that is all there, but I had a good amount left. I had a full skein of each of the contrast colors. I had almost a full skein, 50 grams-ish, maybe 60 of my main color. So I decided to take the chart and make a hat. So on Ravelry, there's a pattern called Anthology by Tin Can Knits, and basically it's a recipe for making a colorwork hat from sock weight all the way up to Aran weight yarn. So I took my gauge from here, and I used the same needle sizes. So I knit these with the pattern's suggested needles, so a 4 for the main body and a 3.75 for the ribbing. I did not go up needle size on my yoke. I do not think my gauge changed from my yoke to my stockinette, but my gauge definitely changed from my gauge swatch to my sweater. But I don't think I tightened up for my color work, and I think part of that is because I use a knitting thimble, and I think that keeps me loose, and I don't really over pull. Anyway, so I made a hat with the same 3.75 for the ribbing and a 4mm for the main body. This is still wet because I blocked it last night and laid it out last night, and it's still wet. So here's the hat. It looks just like my sweater. I love it so much. So I was worried about running out of my main color. So I wanted to do a folded brim, but I was worried about running out. So I just did like a 3.5-inch brim here. So since it's a free pattern, I can talk about it a bit more. She suggests using 96 stitches for the ribbings, that's what I cast on. That divided evenly for this chart, so I didn't have to change my stitch count for there. I did have to change my stitch count for this chart though, so I just decreased evenly around to get a number divisible by what I needed. And then I don't think I needed to decrease again until this chart at the top, and I started my crown decreases within this chart, which is why some of the lines get a little funky. But overall, I just kind of took the Tin Can Knits pattern and then put these charts on top of it, and then decreased randomly when I needed to if the numbers didn't work. But I'll put it on. It's still wet, so be gentle. And yeah, so it's slouchy. And if I want to cover up my ears, they can be covered. I can't tell how it looks because I look that way when I look. I think I like it. I like it a lot. I don't know. I just wanted to be extra and knit a hat to go with the sweater. So all of these weights for what I used. See, I think it's too short for a folded brim. But the main reason I wanted to use this is because I wanted to potentially break into those other skeins that I had bought for the contrast colors. I didn't even touch them. Literally, I made this hat with the leftovers from this. So all of this, all these colors are with 50 grams of Knit Picks Wool the Andes, which is kind of fun. And yeah, I think it's a really fun hat. This will be a nice worsted weight hat. I don't know how often I'll wear them together, but I just really liked the charts and wanted them in a hat as well. I knit these with my Knit Picks Caspian's short interchangeables, which I love using for hats. they make making a hat so much easier. And yeah, I think that's basically it. This is the love of my life, and I'm so excited to have it done. I'm gonna take it off now because I'm getting hot. So yes, that is the main thing that I finished. And now that I have a sweater off the needles, I'm actually feeling a bit antsy, and I'm thinking I'm gonna be starting another one pretty shortly. I was worried about a worsted weight sweater, but honestly, I think it's so warm and snuggly. I think it's gonna be amazing. I'm so excited. So since finishing my sweater, I've only started a couple other things. I'm kind of feeling a bit, I don't know what I want to work on half the time. I don't know if that's just because I'm slightly stressed out. I don't know. I've started my September Desert Vista Dye Works socks. I forgot to bring them in here, so we're just gonna pretend I'm at the heel of the first one, and it's just a vanilla sock. I'm knitting them for Shane, so I'm doing 60 stitches on a 9-inch circular. The colorway is Zelda 1993, which is the colorway that I won and talked about in my last Stash Editions video. So I don't have that with me, sorry. I feel like I'm losing my mind half the time with this move. The other thing that I have started is I have started a granny square blanket. So I am using Nitty Natty's Scrappy Granny Square pattern and TLC Yarn Crafts, some of her YouTube videos, and I kind of figured out what my perfect granny square is. Nitty Natty's pattern, I basically referenced it because she suggested a crochet hook size and roughly said how much each granny square would take grams wise. So these are all taking me about 7 grams each, I think. And then I referenced TLC's Yarn Crafts videos because she has a video on tips to make granny squares and then how to join as you go. So I have started a granny square blanket. It's going to be a throw. And this is how much I have done. So it is 7 squares long. I love holding up my knitting to the camera. So it is 7 squares wide. And it's going to be a 7 by 7. I am using about 7 grams per square. And then I'm doing a join as you go method. So you might be able to see where on these ones, they overlap. So there are, I think I'm doing 5 rounds per granny square. Basically it's 5 stitches in between the 2 corners. And on the last round, when you go and do your slip stitches, or when you slip a stitch, I think is what it's called. When you go to like chain one, you chain one through the space on the granny square that is going beside. I will link those YouTube videos on my Ravelry project page so they are easily accessible, and I will try to remember to link them on the show notes page if Ravelry is not accessible to you. So I have knit 14 squares. Knit, crocheted. 14 squares, and I am using this Knit Pro 3.5 millimeter needle from Knit Pro. And yeah, 5 rounds. I could almost do 6, but I run out just barely before. And all of these colors are colors from my Nora George Harry Potter Blanket Club. And like I've mentioned before, I do not support J.K. Rowling and her views and what she's been saying, but I do support yarn dyers that are finding inspiration from that fictional world. So I love all these colors so much. And so I'm actually knitting this for Shane's mom because when I was knitting my habitation throw, she was obsessed, and she's also obsessed with Harry Potter in general. And so overall, I'm trying to do like you can see it better here, like a light, dark, diagonal patterns. Like these are light, these are dark, these are light, these are dark, light-ish. So that's what I'm going for. And these have been really fun. They're really easy to just like knock out a square as you go. And it's just nice gratification for each square, but the whole blanket's gonna take a bit. So I've done 2 rows of 7. So we'll see how it goes. With that, these are all the little bits left over from after I used 10 grams, what I have left over from each of the squares. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be starting a DK weight pair of socks with these. I'm just gonna hold them double and go until a color runs out, switch to the next color, and just keep going. So I think I'm gonna start those today because that honestly sounds amazing. The other thing that I have started that I've been working on sporadically, I started this before finishing my Wild Joy, but then paused to crank out and finish the Wild Joy because it was getting close to the end of the deadline. But this is my Birds of a Feather shawl by Andrea Mowry. I am completely inspired to knit this shawl because Courtney knit one last year, and she knit it in a white mohair, and I think she did it in I Smell Snow, both the mohair and the main color from Stress Knits. And so it was just like a white shawl with white speckles, or like really nice speckles on the white. And I was just like, it's so gorgeous. Every time she wore it, it looked amazing. So this is completely inspired by Courtney. And so it is living in my Joy in the Stitches patchwork bag because it's the perfect size for this. I am using my Olin singles in the colorway Veil. And I am pairing it with Bridget number 3, which is a mohair from Lana Grossa. So this is like a white, slightly off-white. I can tell you more. So this color is actually I bought for Courtney and I bought her a skein of it and myself when I went to the Hogue in the Netherlands pre-COVID, and I was gonna knit a everyday slouchy beanie and then just decided I did not want to make an everyday slouchy beanie. And so I'm so excited that I'm making this pattern with it because we both have a skein of this yarn and I'm basically copying her for this pattern because I love it so much. But this is the logo for the Olin singles. And so it is 366 meters, 100% superwash merino. And then the label for the mohair is this. So it's Lana Grossa, Bridget number 3. So it's a 40% mohair, 30% wool, and a 25% nylon. So it's a mohair wool blend. So I think it's a little easier to rip out because it's not all mohair. It also, I think this blend ended up being cheaper than just plain mohair nylon because that wool, I think, helps bring the price down a bit. It is really fuzzy. And it is not going to focus on that because my face. It is exceptionally fuzzy. Yeah, like you can see it all here. All that fuzz. I love it though. And so I've done a couple repeats. So this pattern repeats mohair sections and your wool sections. I am using my Lana Grossa wooden needles because I didn't want to use the metal if the mohair was going to be super slippery. And this is what I have done. So mine's not as white as Courtney's because the Olin is like a bluish tint mostly, but I'll give a nice little. So this is the mohair by itself. So I think since it has the wool, it's not as see-through, but it's still really fuzzy and lovely. And so I've done 2 repeats, 2 sections of each. And it just increases and then it'll decrease out. It's a very similar, I think, shaping wise to my Coast Along shawl, which also became very like rhythmic and fun to knit to. So honestly, I'm probably going to pick this up more often now that my Wild Joy is done. And I have a lot of blue and like white themes going on this year, even though my color is green. That's okay, because the next shawl I'm planning to make is green and the next sweater will be green. But yeah, I'm really excited for this. It's just going to be a really lovely shawl, and the mohair sections are just really fuzzy and fluffy and lovely to work with. I'm not having a problem really with the mohair section being extra slippery or anything. And part of that might be that I'm using the wooden needles. Another aspect could be that I'm using a mohair and wool blend, so maybe it's not as slippery. But it's just nice because in the mohair sections, you do kind of have to slow down. You can't just like go through those as quickly. So it's nice, it's just kind of like needle, wrap, grab, out, needle, wrap, grab, out. Like you just had to go like this nice, slow, rhythmic knitting. So it's really nice. And I'm really loving it. I am a lot. So this I would like to try and finish. Oh boy, that's a deadline. That's probably not gonna happen. I was gonna say before we fly, which is 3-ish weeks. So I don't know. It's a maybe. Maybe I can finish it before then. But honestly, those are the main things that I've been working on. I just started like 2 rounds of a sock. So I'm not going to show that. I'll have more next time. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me make sure I'm not forgetting anything. I guess, yeah, so that's basically all the knitting I have. Goals and future knitting. My future plans, I want to start my half and half wrap. And I also think I want to start a tulip sweater out of some cascade in like a nice fern green that I have. That's really calling to me. I'm trying to decide if I want to cast that on before I finish my Birds of a Feather though. But it's really calling to me. So maybe I'll just swatch and see how that goes. Other than that, my only other goals is I need to finish my Does It Visit Dye Work sock by the end of the month. And then I'm testing a sock for Reggae Canyon, so I need to make sure I get that done before the deadline. But I'm super excited about that sock. So that, I know I'll finish that. Not worried. Other than that, life stuff. If you're not interested in my life, that's basically all the knitting. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Life stuff though, we should be moving into a hotel in a couple weeks. We will ship our final stuff also in a couple weeks. I had to sell all my plants, which is very sad, which is also why I wanted to feature little tree here. And yeah, the moving aspect is becoming very, very real. Now that we don't have our stuff, I would just like to be on a plane. I'm excited because we have a direct flight from Germany to Colorado, which is going to make life a lot easier. But house hunting, finding an apartment is exceptionally stressful. We're not planning on buying a house. We're just going to rent because the housing market is crazy right now. But even that is kind of crazy. So we're starting to look at places, contacting, seeing if what we can find, when we can find it. I've been applying to jobs, seeing what I can find there as well, which has also been quite stressful. So a lot of stress in the normal life. Yeah. So a lot of times I come home and I just don't want to knit and I'm just brain dead. We'll see. Thank you guys just again for all the kind words about not being stressed about recording and podcasting. But I do really love sharing with you guys what I'm working on. And this is always a fun distraction from all the stress and the moving. Yeah. I think I'm trying to do a little more vlogs along the way. So I did one last week. I hope you guys enjoyed that. That was actually really fun to do. So I think I'm gonna do more of those. And yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Someone did ask on the Ask Me thread on Ravelry if I was mailing or destashing my stash. I am mailing my stash. I mailed like all of it minus the stuff that I decided to keep. So all the yarn went to Colorado. Well, it's on its way. So do not fret. I spent a lot of money and I was trying to stock up while I was here. And yeah, that's basically it. Sorry, I am rambling. I'm trying to think if there's anything else, but I honestly don't think so. We're just going on a lot of walks with Sherlock, living in a house with minimal furniture, and getting ready to fly to Colorado, which is exciting and scary and anxious making all together, all in one. So thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'm sorry I rambled so much here at the end. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you like the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. It really helps to get it to other knitters as well. And if you'd like to make sure you don't miss when I post any videos, just hit the subscribe button. It also is a free way to help support the channel. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys again very soon. Bye! So I've started my August Desert Vista dye work. It's September. Decate wear, decate, deep.